and maybe buying a boutique hotel one day? All right, a good amount of hands. Who's like all in and like, I'm buying a boutique hotel? All right, we got like 5. All right, the rest of you can like leave. We'll just talk to us. All right, I'm kidding. No, this I really wanted to make this more applicable to scale any portfolio, especially short-term rentals. There's a lot of cabins in here, short-term rental owners. It's a big area in the country, very hot market for short-term rentals. So it'll definitely help with that, but just general real estate business. I think a lot of the things that have helped me build the hotel company, you know, hiring people, training people, building systems and processes, you know, doing acquisitions, building out the professional team will really help you guys build any real estate business. So I want to keep this as applicable to that as I can with a good little splash of boutique hotels. So for all you guys interested in that. Good? More technical difficulties. There you go. All right, so what I'm going to talk about today is the case for boutique hotels in the first place for you guys interested, how I got started in short-term rentals and then how that led into boutique hotels, and then what you can achieve with the boutique hotels. I think I'll save the good part, but how you can really scale so much faster with commercial real estate, and then how to find, fund, and operate them, some case studies, and then just overcoming that biggest gap, like you get in your own way sometimes. So we'll talk about that too. So this is my first deal. This is me and Nicole here, freshly married, right out of college, holding our, I don't know, at the time, like 7-week-old yellow lab, who's like 5.5 now. And this was a house with a guest house, and we rented out the guest house as a short-term rental. We did it as Airbnb. We furnished this thing on a credit card. We picked up everything in the back of my truck and furnished it ourselves, and Walmart and Home Goods, TJ Maxx, all that good stuff, and just did it super raw, got it up, didn't know what was going to happen. And I was like, I know we'll probably make more than a long-term rental, which is why we decided to go through the extra work. Had no idea about operating short-term rentals, but we're in Panama City in Florida, right? So right by the beaches, so it was a good market for it. And this led into us actually, I bought this with a VA loan, and we actually made money to live there for free. And I was like, dude, this is pretty awesome. Like short-term rentals just covered our mortgage and we're making money and we don't have to pay our mortgage out of pocket. Pretty cool. So we started doing more of this, and we kind of found this little niche in the beginning of these smaller multi-unit properties, like houses with guest houses, duplexes, ADUs, above garage apartments, like anything that had multiple units that we could do STR on because we're in a good market for it. And I think it was like a year later, we had got to the point where our net cash flow was more than I was making from the Air Force from my W-2. Nicole was still getting her doctorate at the time. So like we did it. That was our 5-year goal. We got it in 1 year with short-term rentals. So I was like, I like this. Like, how do we scale this now? So you can go to the next slide. So since then, we got into commercial real estate, scaled much bigger, much faster, and have been able to do some awesome stuff. This is us in the Caribbean, somewhere in Utah doing a crazy adventure, ziplining through the rainforest. Like, we've been able to do some really cool things because of our real estate portfolio. I just separated from the Air Force because we have the backbone of the short-term rentals, now the hotels. And so that's what I want to kind of get into you guys of how you can do with this. And met some cool people along the way. It's at 2 different mastermind retreats, one in Maui, one in Guatemala, and just what we've been able to do with going bigger. And a lot of it was us getting out, really like me getting out of my own way, and Nicole being like, all right, I'll trust you on this deal. I'm not very comfortable with it, but we'll go for it. And I think when you have an opportunity to go bigger, to scale, like to go from, you know, long-term rentals into commercial multifamily, or from short-term rentals into hotels, or from, you know, renting out your garage to doing storage units, right? There's this threshold that you have to get over in your own mind to say, all right, I can do this. I don't know, I don't have all the answers yet, and I didn't either at the time. I still don't feel like I do. But once you get on the other side of that, it's like everything that you wanted is on the other side of that discomfort. So I think that's the point of like scaling up, jumping into the bigger deal, right? Trying to get something that's more passive, takes less time on the back end. So leads me to why boutique hotels. So one of the first reasons is how they're valued. And I think you guys will like this little demonstration. So I love this, you can go to the next slide. This difference between the old way, and this is a little off center, you can't see the whole thing. So with residential real estate, right? Any appraisers in here? No appraisers this time? All right, well, any investors, how you're valued with residential deals is the comps or the comparable sales of other houses in that same area that are comparable, right? Same bedrooms, bathrooms, same square footage, same year bill, all that kind of stuff. So if you are renting this out as a short-term rental, like a lot, and you'll probably see like some short-term rental investors try to do this now, sell it based on the NOI, how much it's generating, right? It's net operating income. And if you're at a 50,000 NOI, am I yelling? All right, if your NOI is at 50,000, I'm excited. One house is worth 400,000, but the other house is making twice as much. It's making $100,000 instead of just $50,000. Go to the next slide. Because your value is based on the comps, it's still a $400,000 house. So it doesn't matter how much better you operated it, how much better you designed it, how much better you did with the property, you're still valued based on the comparable sales of other properties in the area. That's the limit of residential real estate, which is like, you know, you can only do so much, which is why you have to buy so many more deals. It takes longer, in my opinion, to get to your goal doing that. Now, the next slide with hotels, now we're dealing with commercial real estate. NOI, or net operating income, is the value driver, or is the driving force of the value. So now we have two similar hotels. One is earning $300,000 in NOI. In this example, it's a 20-unit building, 10,000 square foot. It's making $300,000 a year in net income. So probably generating like $600,000 in revenue. Very realistic numbers for hotels. Get into one deal that makes, you know, $500,000, $700,000 that you net 300 on. So at an 8% cap rate, your value is $3.75 million. But if you double that NOI, right, you come in, you make operational improvements, you do a redesign, you add tech, you eliminate like the front desk, which you don't need at these smaller hotels, you operate the property better, and you double the NOI, which is very doable. I've at least doubled the NOI at all of my hotels. Working on doing the same now at Tremont down in Townsend. So at that same 8% cap rate, you doubled the value of the property to $7.5 million. So in the past example, you doubled the value, you got no more, or you doubled the income, you got no more value. Here, if you double the income, assuming the cap rate stays the same, you double the value of the property. So that's why I really like commercial real estate. It just takes the roof off of what you can actually do. So here's kind of that example in math terms for my math nerds. I do nerd out on my spreadsheet sometimes. So as the price, or as the NOI goes up, your price goes up. Or if you're compressing the cap rate, meaning you're buying something that's distressed at a 10 cap and stabilized properties in that same range, or an 8 cap, you know, that's the cap rate going down, also drives the value. So what's cool is that you also have two ways. If you're adding, you know, making a nicer property, you can lower the cap rate while raising the NOI. You're gonna get an even bigger boost on your value. So because they're commercial, and also just like another side thing on this, hey little guy, because they're commercial, they're also zoned for that nightly rental use. So how many people has there anybody in here had a STR that like regulations shut them down, the city shut them down, anything like that? Got one? Okay. I got a buddy right now that has one that makes $500,000 a year, a house that's like 5 bedrooms up in Michigan. They're getting shut down by the city. 500K of income just shut down. And guess what? It doesn't matter if it made 500K, it's not valued any more than other 5-bedroom houses. So do we just drop, oh, it's back. All right, I can start yelling if I need to. So you got the zoning perk too. You go to the next slide. So what I also like about hotels is less is more. So you might need 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 short-term rental deals, or even more long-term rentals to get to the same rental income or the same net cash flow that you would see as the owner to get the same amount that you get from a single hotel. So that's what originally got me into it, is like, if I continue on this path, we already, you know, surpassed our net cash flow. I could keep buying houses, but I know the path. It's very linear. And by doing that, I essentially bought myself another job while I was still working full time. Because like I had enough revenue to leave my job, but I didn't have enough revenue to replace myself in that job. So it's just this linear path that took longer than I wanted to go. But you can get all that with one purchase or 2 purchases, right? If you're, you know, buying an 8 unit, then you know, scale up and buy a 10 or 15 unit, you can get there with 2 purchases, which is cool. So because of that higher revenue, you also have what you need to go out and build a team. So if you can buy one bigger deal all in one, you know, one fell swoop, now you have the money you need from the beginning to hire people, to get yourself out. And at the beginning, what that often looks like is virtual assistants, VAs, to do the admin, but that's all it takes to manage it more effectively. So more units also allows you to spread out the risk. You know, just think of a 100-unit apartment complex, right? If you have 5 of them, that are vacant, you're at 95% occupancy. That's really good for an apartment complex portfolio. But if you've got these houses, like if one's vacant, your vacancy factor is 100% for that house. So it's really a way to control your risk, to have more units, right? With a hotel, you can have 10 units, you can have 7 or 3 of them that you're not renting, 7 of them that are booked, and that's like really good. That's where you want to be, because then you're pushing up your rates and can do different factors with, all right, we're gonna push this units up $50 tonight because we're already at 7 out of 10 booked, so you can get more revenue based on the higher demand. So it spreads out your risk that way too. There's also better lending options, and I put better in parentheses because everybody has their opinion. But from my perspective, now that you're in the commercial space, you're getting debt based on the asset, not on your own debt to income ratio or DTI. So you aren't qualifying for the loan personally. It's the income from the property and how sound that asset is at operating that's going to dictate your terms for the loan. And sometimes you still have to guarantee it and sign on the loan. And sometimes it's a personal guarantee, but they're underwriting the deal, not you. It's not showing up on your balance sheet when you go to get your credit pulled to go buy your own house. Also, seller financing is very much more available in the space. Three out of my 6 boutique hotels were seller financed, and I think with the average down payment of like 10 to 12% and like a 4.5% interest rate. So they range from 4% to 6%, anywhere from 5 to 15% down. So super manageable when you're jumping into a new asset class and going bigger to put less down to get more control of the interest rate, because you get a deal directly with the seller. Just think about who your seller is in that situation. It's a business owner, right? They're operating that asset and taking the income from it. So to have seller financing and monthly payments come from it, that's a lot of the times going to benefit them and meet their goals. Because when they're selling, think about an old, tired out hotel, motel, whatever it is, you're going to see that as the investor of all the potential that it has. But to them, they've already let it go by. They're tired out. They don't want to deal with all the problems that us young whippersnappers do, right? So you can come in there, solve that problem, keep giving them cash flow from it, and guess what? Hey, Mr. Seller, you don't want 100% of this down because you're going to go pay 40% taxes on it. By doing this, you can spread out your tax burden. So there's so many different ways that you can negotiate this with them, and they're very receptive of it because they're business owners, they're operators, they get it. Sometimes there's difficult sellers out there too, but puts the ball in your court more so. And then you also have loan to cost options. So the USDA loan that we're doing right now is 80% loan to cost, meaning they gave us an 80% loan based on the purchase price plus the huge renovation costs. So instead of going to raise $7 million or like 6.5, whatever it would have been, we raised $4 million to meet our equity requirement to get that project done. So I really like that aspect. They do that on the SBA side. Local banks will do that as well. So better lending options. So how to find deals? That's where it comes down to. It's like, all right, all this is great. I'm sold. I want to do hotels, but how the freak do I find them? I think the first place you want to start is the obvious places. Like go online to your online listing sources like LoopNet, like Crexy. There's various other online listing sites like BizBuySell or InShopper.com. Like you can go and find what's listed already, but that's not going to be every single thing that's out there for sale, right? What that does typically when you're starting, it gives you a good place to start so that you can start to analyze and underwrite deals so you can begin to recognize a good deal when you finally find it. And I think I bought 2 that were listed, really crappy listings that like just had photos of like the property appraiser, like a screenshot of that. And I was like, this is like shooting fish in a barrel here. So when you're looking online, what you really want to do is like, you're not looking necessarily for a good deal. You're looking how you can create a good deal, right? It's like, how do you add value to this? Can I add units? Can I eliminate the front desk because it's 10 or 20 units? I can put smart locks on the doors. I can give them automatic codes. They can go right to their unit. So now I don't have to pay somebody $20 an hour, at whatever, 80 hours a year. That's a $40,000, to the payroll. And at that same make cap, that's like over $100,000 in value that you can add back to the property by running it more efficiently. So it's how do you add value, right? It's not just looking what's there. You got to look a little bit deeper. And then in the commercial real estate space, most of your deals are going to trade with brokers. So that's all about relationships. It's about picking up the phone, you know, putting a smile on your face. All right, we got this, we got this. Hyping yourself up to make the calls. Like who's had a like cold calling brokers and just like felt the like apprehension to do it? Like, I don't want to pick up the phone. Yeah, more hands should go up. All you guys do it. I do it still. But I hype myself up to do it. So most deals are going to go through brokers in the commercial space. And like knowing that, it's like, how do I find the brokers in my market that are doing the deals that I want to get, right? Who's trading hospitality properties? Who's selling hotels? Who sold them in the past? And then tell them your criteria, what you're looking for. And just a lot of it's in the follow-up. Like I just had somebody in my hotel mastermind the other day, was like, literally last week, was like, I called this broker 3 months ago, didn't have anything, kind of a dead relationship. She called him back last week, was like, oh yeah, I remember you. Actually, something just came across my desk, because she followed up. So it's not just one and done. Like you have to make these relationships and keep hitting these people. And then another one, direct to seller marketing. I think two or maybe three of our deals came from me working directly with the seller, from leads that I found, negotiated. Those were the seller financing ones too, because I own the relationship the whole way. So how do you do that? You can literally Google the hotel if they're operating or have any online presence at all, and call the hotel. And most of them at these smaller hotels are owner operators. So it's probably going to be the owner, you know, the husband, wife, one of them's working the office, the other one's out, you know, cleaning rooms and fixing stuff. So you get to actually talk directly to the owners, or you can pull a list on something like PropStream or ListSource and get the list of all the hotel deals in your area, get the owner's information, their address, what the debt level is on the property, all this information, and then call them, email them, send them a letter. Like we sent a lot of direct mail. Like Nicole will sit here and tell you, she used to put the return addresses on them. I'd handwrite them and put the stamps on them, and we'd send out like 50 a week when we started. So direct to seller, you can find deals that way. And then the one that I don't hear that many people talk about, just tell people what you're looking for. So like this. Hey guys, I'm Blake. I'm looking for boutique hotels. If you find one, let me know about it. So now hopefully somebody in this room in like a month or so, it's like, hey Blake, I got a deal. So just tell people what you're looking for, right? Like, and especially if you're buying hotels, you're buying cabin communities, you're buying RV parks, you're buying, you know, something that's a little bit more obscure. When an agent, when a broker, when a friend, whatever it is, when a connection finds a deal like that, they're going to think of you. So be that person in their mind with your asset class. How to fund them. All right, you got the deal. Now you got to close it. So local banks and regional banks are great sources. Credit unions. I love credit unions. I've done a lot of loans with credit unions. Also in the hotel space, SBA loans are huge. Like that is almost a go-to. They do take 5 or 6 months. They are a pain in the butt. Man, I'll just be blunt. They are a pain in the ass. They can really be tough. USDA is even worse. It took us, I think, 10 months to close the USDA loan. But it was a great long-term loan product. I still want to drop kick my lender, but we got through it. You also got institutional bridge loans or hard money loans. We've done a couple of these because what can be the difficulty with hotels, especially value-add hotels. That's like the double whammy for most lenders. Is like, we don't really like to do hotels, and if it's a value-add where they don't have financials or like a really bad operating history, they really don't want to do hotels. So that's why the double whammy. So these institutional hard money loans will be these, you know, big capital companies that pool money from investors, and they're going to give you money at 12, 13, or 14% and like 2 or 3 points up front. But when you can't get your deal funded any other way, that's a good product, especially if they're going to give you, you know, 75, 80% loan to cost on that too and fund your rehab, and you do your rehab and draws. It can be a really good product to get you in, but have a quick, you know, value add play to refinance into a better long-term debt with, you know, something like SBA or a local or regional bank. And then my star at the bottom, my favorite, seller financing. I always bring in seller financing. Even if they're like, I won't ever finance it, I'm not gonna do it. I've had people seller finance when they said they would never do it. And it's all about how you work it into the conversation. So it's never like, hey, will you seller finance for me? It's like getting to know why they're selling in the first place, like what's their motivation, and then just asking questions, being curious, right? Keeping the conversation going, building a rapport. Is it that, you know, they want to sell a property to retire and go move closer to their grandkids, or maybe they want to go live RV life, or maybe they've got another purchase lined up on the back end. Like know the source of where the money is going from the sale, and you can find out what you need to do to fit their needs. Maybe it's just a down payment. So okay, Now it's $1 million property. That $1 million just turned into, they need 200K down to go buy their next house. So can you put 200K down to them, you finance the rest and they get paid over, you know, on a 5-year term. So always bring seller financing into it. Raising money for boutique hotels. So I raised money for all my deals. I've done a mix of debt and equity. And like to do that, right, you're gonna buy a bigger deal that's gonna have a higher purchase price and it's gonna require more cash. So if you don't have, you know, an investor list already, somebody to turn to partner with or whatever, you're gonna need funds from outside sources. So friends and family is the first place to always start. I think my first big raise was like $450,000 and it was like, it seemed like the toughest thing ever. And I just picked up the phone, made probably 100 phone calls and got like 7 people to trust in me. And because I was in the Air Force at the time, I think 5 or 6 out of the 7 were also Air Force. So like, at least I know this guy will work hard. He hasn't proven it yet, but we'll see. And it worked out. So it's like, who do you have in your network that, you know, you can get money from and show them that it's an opportunity to invest with you and make money. And again, just like finding deals, let everyone know what you're looking for. So when you're raising money, let everybody know that you have a deal and that you have an opportunity. And again, like the mindset shift is you're not asking for money, you're presenting the opportunity to them to be your investor, right? You're gonna provide them returns, good tax benefits, appreciation over time. So you gotta see it that way. And like the difference will be in your voice when you're raising the money. So just keep that in mind. You can also do it online, right? That's a great source. A lot of my investors come through some sort of funnel now, like a lead magnet, that you're giving something of value to people for free. It builds trust with you. It builds credibility. Like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. So, you know, maybe a free passive investing resource or whatever. And that's a simple splash page that they have to put their name and email in, and they get it for free. You get their information, and then you can share deals with them when you get them. And a lot of people reply to those emails if you're just personable and, you know, be yourself. And then also this one here at the bottom, co-general partners or co-GPs to help raise. So if you're thinking about all these different things, right? You've got like 4 big things in any real estate deal. You got to find the deal. You got to find the deal. You've got to finance it. You got to like do the underwriting, and then you've got to do the management of the deal. So the good news is in real estate, you don't have to be good at every single thing. You can be really, really good at finding deals, and it's a matter of putting the pieces together, right? And that's even what I did on Tremont, or our 130 unit down in Townsend. I brought on people to help me raise money, and they have, you know, other small, bless you. They have other small responsibilities in the deal as well. But the big need at the beginning was these are guys that, you know, do much better on the capital raise side. I'm the deal finder and the operator, like the boutique hotel guy. So I needed to focus on running the deal, getting through the due diligence, working with the lender, hiring the team, doing all of that. So I couldn't have done all that and done a big raise at the same time. And of course, like I brought some of my investors too, but I couldn't bring the whole 4 million just myself. So who do you know in your network? Like Jay over here said, he's looking for partners. I heard somebody else say they're looking for JPs. Like who can you pull together to go do a bigger deal together? And like the whole saying, if you want to go far, go alone, or if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I think if you want to go far and fast, go with people. Like bring people on, you'll go further than by yourself, and you'll go faster. So how to structure your deals. We talked about this a little bit, right? You got your equity raised now, or you know that you got to raise money, but how are you going to do it? How are you going to structure the deal? So you got really 2 options, two big main options. You can do an equity split, right? And that's going to be a longer term deal, right? The investors are going to get a portion of ownership. So they're going to get cash flow, the tax benefits, the appreciation. They will be owners in that deal. They can be silent though, like you have all the decision-making authority, but they're going to be in the deal with you for the life of the deal. And also something to keep in mind that in today's capital markets and private real estate deals, you're probably going to have a preferred return of 6, 7, 8%, or else your deal is not going to look competitive to people who could go invest in, one of my hotel deals or a multifamily deal that's going to get 6 or 7% paid first before the GP LP split comes into effect. So that gets a little technical. We can talk after about that if you want to talk about GP and LP splits. I can get real nerdy. And then your other way is debt investment. So this is going to be a shorter term loan, typically like 6 to 12, maybe 18 months, depending on what you can convince people of and negotiate in, right? If you've got a friend that's like, yeah, I just need money working out there for 2 years and give me 10% a year, then you can do that. It's really whatever you negotiate with them. So these are going to be promissory notes or mortgages so that they have their interest tied to the property. And you're going to be paying them either a fixed or an annualized interest rate while you're doing it. And then you basically burr them out at the end, right? So you raise money, 10% while they're in the deal, you refinance, they get paid out. So I've done both of these on hotel deals. They both work. And typically with a debt raise, you just need to have the margin to be able to refinance and pull them out. If not, probably gonna have to keep them in for the longer term. Then, how do you run them once you get the deal? And that's like the big thing with hotels, right? It's like, I can do some short-term rentals, multifamily is easy, storage, I don't have to deal with tenants or toilets, but hotels are, or can be, operationally complex. So, speaking of that, that's the big thing, is your operations, right? What are the systems and the processes that you can put in place to take work off of your hands? And also thinking about your team, how can you build your team to also not be the guy who wears all the hats in the beginning? And with hotels, like your base level admins from the beginning are gonna be, like I call them my e-concierge, but these are basically virtual assistants. Mine are over in the Philippines. And at the beginning, these are the most important members of your team because they're very, very cheap to bring on. They're fairly easy to train, especially the people in the Philippines. Like, they want to do good work. That's been my experience, and they're awesome. I love them. They do all of our guest messaging and admin still to this day. So they can be a great way for you to build your team, get stuff off your plate very affordably. And if you're looking for virtual employees, here are a few sources for you. So Upwork is a big one. I started that because we use Upwork to this day for a whole slew of projects. We find our admin people, our guest relations people. We find people that used to work with Airbnb or Expedia, so they already know the platforms. They already know like how we communicate with our guests, what the booking processes are. And then think, like, at our scale now, we have 160 units. So every week we got a lot of refunds, a lot of resolutions at any given time. So they already know the internal processes. So they make it really easy for you to train. And then you can just plug them and play into your systems. But some other ones, Remote Workmate, OnlineJobs.ph, Rocket Station. So those two are ones that you typically pay a fee up front, and they help you place a VA in your business, so it takes a little bit of work off your plate, which can be good at the beginning, right? It's like you don't know exactly what you need. You have a list of requirements, a list of stuff that you work on that takes too much time. So you can go with something like that they help you actually staff you up. And then you have Fiverr and, funny enough, Facebook groups. So now we probably hire more, probably second to Upwork. We hire a lot of people from Facebook groups now, and just like with like 10,000, 15,000 Filipino workers who are looking for something to do, put our job posts out there, and we hire them through Facebook. So you can start your first hotel without management on site. So when you think about hotel, like, you typically think about walking in a lobby, you got a front desk, you got a check-in, you've got stay over service, right, where they're cleaning your room, you might have a bar, like, you got all these different things in a hotel, right, which take a lot of people, and as a business owner, it means a lot of payroll, but you can actually do them very, very lean. So my first 5 hotels were 8 units, 15, 14, 20, and 14. So it was like, and then a couple houses on top of that. So it's like an 85 unit portfolio. We didn't have any front desk for that whole portfolio. Not a single hotel had front desk. Now we had offices where our team worked and where like our property managers would work. And when I say property manager, it's like a W-2 employee of our company who would be, the person on site to handle guest issues or go respond to something when needed, but we're not staffing a front office. Typically in a hotel, you'd have the front desk plus the manager on site. Like, we could just cut that because we have smart locks on all the doors that connect to our PMS. So that means when somebody books on Airbnb, that goes through the PMS and syncs and sends them a code automatically. So then it's just, how do you really clearly give them their check-in instructions? They get sent a code automatically. Where do they park? How do you make that process really clean for them so they can show up, get in without needing you, right? And then have your e-concierge team on the back end that's answering questions so that you don't have to. And like, we would see, hundreds and hundreds of guests a week, and I never message a guest. So I really like this visual, something I made, like this pyramid of how you staff up your company and how you start to work at the base and work yourself up. I think it cut off to this side again. Yeah, you have you. going up there. So as you build, you are ascending this pyramid of greatness here. And where you start at is like your base level, is your e-concierge, your admin, right? These are the people who are handling that kind of tedious day-to-day stuff, messaging guests. I love our guests, but I don't want to be messaging them. Our resolutions, our refunds, like all of our tracking of our metrics and our KPIs, like all the stuff that's, you know, more detailed and on the back end and doesn't take somebody in person and definitely doesn't take you, right? This is $4 or $5, $6 an hour task that we can pay to them. They do it great. They don't make any errors, and it takes hours and hours off your plate. So that's where you can start. And the cool thing is, with one hotel, almost no matter of what size, you can afford this. Like my 8 unit in Fort Walton Beach down in Florida in the Panhandle does not make that much revenue. I would not buy that one again today, but it was the first one that started the momentum, and we bought that one and the next and the next and the next. And it made sense to run it together with the portfolio. But even with that smaller deal, I had all I needed. Like that took us from 8 short-term rentals to now 16, and we could hire the team, get myself out, get the admin off my plate. Now as you scale, you can hire a property manager. And this like level of the pyramid, this middle level, is really your property staff or your in-location, in-market staff that now they're handling the day-to-day on the property, right? And you equate this to business or to any other real estate. Like these are kind of your middle level managers, your property managers, your one who are going out to put out the fires, you know, to build the fence, like whatever it might be. They're doing the things that require in-person physical presence so you can continue to elevate up this pyramid and get out of more work. And then as you continue to scale up, now you're hiring key positions that have functional responsibility in the business. So now you can hire like a guest experience manager who's now managing all of your VAs, hiring and training and really focus on the quality control like we have. You can hire a revenue manager, director of operations. Like these are people that, you know, manage the functions down below them and report directly to you. This is where you start becoming more of a leader than a doer, right? You're steering the boat, not rowing the boat. And that's when it becomes really fun because you get to see, like sit back and see the things going on in the business and make decisions that make an impact rather than having to go do the thing that keeps you from making that impact that you want. So that's where you get a lot of your time back, but it starts at the bottom, right? It's like getting your admin out. And this is with any business. Get the admin out, right? Then get the middle level management of the doing out. Then get the management of those functions out, and you're at the top. That's how you scale up in business. So talking about building your dream team, how do you do it? These are 4 of my favorite books, probably like 3 of these are in my top 8 or top 10, but Who Not How, it just gets you over that mental hurdle of like, man, I know I need somebody, or like, really the first thought is, I really want somebody else to do this stuff. I don't want to do it anymore. And then it just like breaks the mold of like, think who, not how you get it done. I love that. Scaling with mod virtual professionals. If you want to start hiring VAs, this is a great place to start. I think Michael Hyatt also has another one, something about your executive assistant or something. Really great books for managing virtual people. Who, the book on hiring, fantastic. We use that process and the system in that book in our business today of how we screen, like first attract and then screen and interview and hire people. It's great. And if you guys haven't read Traction, like is a must for business. Probably favorite book of all time. Maybe right behind Frankenstein, but that's like, that's fiction. It's a different category. But Traction, amazing book. I reread it every year. Scaling with scaling your business with MOD, virtual professionals. It's a little like 96-page Amazon book. It's really good. All right, metrics and data. What is going to become your life as a business owner as you work up that period, that pyramid, as you get in a more important position in your own business? Like you're always the business owner, but if you can do something that's $10, $15 an hour, you can hire that to somebody else. As you get up there, you're going to be really focused on the metrics of the data of the driving forces behind your business. So with a larger portfolio, one of the other benefits is you can actually capture much better data, right? I think back to when we had 3 short-term rentals, like we have a little bit, but we don't quite have enough to know what's really going on in the market. It's very much subjective. It's going off the feel of things. When you've got 100 units, you can tell very clearly you know, if occupancy drops 5%, your revenue is dropping like 20 grand. And you're like, oh shit, okay, something's going on here. Like, what are the inputs into this? Is it booking lead time? Are your rates too high? Obviously, your occupancy is going down. What do your refunds look like? What are your guest satisfaction scores? Like, where are my levers to make improvements in the business? And that's how I think about it now. Like, what are the levers we have to pull this, to improve this problem? And a lot of times, in my business at least, it's guest experience. So if people are coming to your place, if they're enjoying it, if they're leaving good reviews, they're going to come back. And that's going to create this virtuous cycle of a good review turns into more views and more exposure on the listing platforms. Then you get more bookings, then you make more money, then good reviews, and it's just this virtuous cycle. So having better data allows you to do that, and then you can split test things on your listings. Say now that you're in the hotel space, you have 10 identical listings, you can try things, you know, with these 5 and these other 5, and then that thing works, and you're like, okay, we got something cool. Maybe it was, you know, maybe it's like you're gonna paint splash walls in the rooms, or maybe you're gonna change rates or change your listing titles or change your descriptions to like better convert people to book. So you can try all those different things. You can do different optimization tactics. You have so many more levers to make improvement if you're looking at the data. Go to the next one. So this was actually the very first one I ever bought, little 8 unit in Fort Walton Beach. I call this my little headache child because it's like, it's a little too small, but it's right on the edge. So 8 units, bought it for $357,000 at the turn of, I think we're under contract like around Christmas of 2020 and like closed it early 2021. My plan originally was to put $400,000 into it, so very manageable, right? Would have been in for $750,000. I knew it was gonna be worth like 1.2 million plus, so like, I like that. Then COVID hit, delays happened. Contractor, oh man, I had some contractor issues, I'll tell you what. And we ended up putting $750,000 into it. So almost doubled the renovation budget. So I was all in for 1.15. Luckily, I got saved out. I got saved. The appraisal came in at 1.6. So I was like, oh my gosh, all the appreciation just saved me. That was more luck than anything. But this is the one that I paid the ignorance tax on, right? And I got a good enough deal. It was 8 units, $357,000. I put this on here because this is very doable. Like, there's houses here that we're buying that are more than this hotel was, right? It was a big renovation. But it was like the commercial side, right? Got to learn that, how to do a commercial renovation, how to, you know, go through the hotel permitting process, how to do all the things that you need to do to be a hotel operator. Learned on this one, and it made the other 4 and now 5 so much easier because it's like learned with training wheels almost. So very, very doable, guys. And then we refinanced that for $1.05 million is like 75% LTV. So I think that's what that is of 1.6 million. And so I left 100 grand into that deal. But it cash flows like 40,000. So 40% ROI. Who would take a 40% ROI? I'll take it. And 550,000 in equity created. So if you go to the next slide, on these 2 deals, not counting the cash flows, just 2 million in equity created on these things in 2 years while working a full-time job. Doing these were in 2 different markets in 2 different states while we're in Florida. So I say this not to brag, but to say, you guys can do this too, right? It's all of it, it goes back to what I was talking about in the beginning, like setting your mindset, realizing the benefits that are on the other side of getting uncomfortable, of pushing yourself into the bigger asset class. This stuff is very, very achievable in the commercial space, especially with hotels. So some key takeaways here, and I'll wrap up. 1, boutique hotels have the power to scale quickly to reach your goals with fewer deals. Like, I would love to just buy 1 more deal and actually make some money. Number 2, if you finance right, bring in investors and partners, and you can go big without having a big bank account, right? You can bring in other people, partner up, bring investors. You don't have to do it all yourself. Realize real estate, especially commercial real estate, is a team sport. Surround yourself with the right people. Number 3, getting started may be challenging, especially with commercial. Might take you longer to find a deal, but it is a lot easier on the back end. Trust me on that. I've been through it. It took me 10 months to close my first commercial deal. And now, like, I really don't even think about it. It's a 66-unit apartment complex. It just does its thing because it's big enough. There's leasing staff. It just runs. And then number 4, you go further by developing your skills as a leader and treating your business like a business. So getting out of the mindset of, you know, all the hotel owners that we like to purchase from, is get out of the business, detach yourself from it, put people in place, then work on managing them, growing them. If you help them reach their goals, you'll definitely meet your goals. So your value really becomes as a leader and the owner of the vision of your company. And with the right skills and mindset and a little bit of help, anybody can be successful with boutique hotels and commercial real estate in general. And I think in business. So I mean, you guys are in the right room to be doing that. And my last thing. That's all I got. I think I got time for questions. Did I go too long? No. Good time? Yes.
All right. I have more than one question.
All right.
In the beginning, I want to assume that a lot of your smaller deals down there in Florida were joint ventures, but now it seems you're doing syndications. Is that true?
Syndications now, yes. The first one, the little 8 unit, that was the debt raise. So I was able to burr everybody out, and I just kept my 100K in, but got the investors out. So I think it was like 5 people that were in for 100K with the down payment and the repairs, plus my 100K, and burred it out. And then from there, we went to partnerships. And so it was like 2-3 bigger investors that we brought in. And now for this, for the new deal down in Townsend, that was $4 million. That was the biggest like single raise. So we syndicated that one. Okay.
So in your debt play versus your equity play with your investors.
Yep.
Are you on the debt side? Are you saying that they know they're signing? Hey, I'm going to give you this 10% instead of preferred between 6 and 8, and I'm going to in 2 years I'm going to burr you out. You're projecting that, and you know it may take longer.
On the debt side?
Yeah, on the debt side.
On the debt side, that's like contractually. Like you have to give the 10%, and if you don't, they can foreclose.
True. So in this syndication model, you're actually selling them a different selling. You know,
you're giving them equity, so they're in it with you.
You're offering them a different share first, but do you have to meet the threshold, or do you just contract it out at 10%?
You can do it different ways. It's all like how you structure it. So for mine, I talked about the preferred returns, and we give a preferred return in ours. Now, if we don't hit it, we're not like obligated to, I guess, but we have to on distributions. So they have to get the first 7% that's distributed before like I would take money from it. So if we don't make money, they don't make money, but I don't make money before they make money.
And on the equity play, the debt play, let's say you're offering these guys 10%, like you gave the example of.
Yeah.
Are you paying them at all during their 2-year investment?
On the debt side, so I always try to structure it where they're paid at the end, at the refinance. On all my private money, I've yet to pay. I've done it on hard money. That's like a different thing, right? Yeah. But on private money, I've never paid an interest payment. I've always structured it into where it's at the refi or the sell, because I want to keep, conserve the cash flow, not have the risk of missing payments that, then they can foreclose because I'm late. Like there's stuff that happens in a refinance, right? You might have cash flow problems. You might have to, go sell your truck to finish the kitchen to put it on the market.
Is it similar to multifamily where you need to show a 90 for 90 days, that type of thing?
It's honestly, like on the debt side, it's honestly whatever you negotiate. So like I keep mine very simple. It's like a 1 or 2 page. In Florida, it was a mortgage stay. So they'd get their promissory note with the terms drafted up, and they would get notarized in the mortgage to where here's their terms, here's their rights to the property. And like if I brought hard money, that just had to be in like the first position. And then my private money lenders would be in, second or third or whatever, depending on how many I brought in.
Next question. How are you navigating the length of time with SBA or USDA? It's when you've got something under contract.
It's really hard, especially because sellers don't want to wait that long. So SBA, that's why I've closed more of mine with commercial hard money or seller financing and then refinance to long-term debt. Because SBA, like on the fast end, will take like 4 months. On the long end, it'll take 6.
Have you originated that way with SBA?
I have not originated one.
So you're refinancing into it. Okay.
Right, because the seller is going to be like, hey, this is a 60, 90-day contract. I can't close the loan in that amount. So typically I'm getting at a really good price to where they start to see what I'm doing with it. They're like, I don't want to sell anymore. So like I've got to execute that or the deal gets lost. So then it's like, you got to pay double closing costs. You've got to have it underwritten into your model, but or just negotiate from the beginning. Hey, we need 4 or 5 months to close.
Last question. Yeah. We own Mountaineer Campground in Townsend. So I want you to, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Do you guys have the pool going in? Is that the one?
We redid it.
Okay. I know which one. I drove through there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, how did you find Tremont? How did you get it done? I know it was on the market for a while.
I got it through a Facebook group.
We actually barely looked at it, but it was a shiny object at the time for us.
Yeah.
We didn't know the space.
Yeah.
So can you walk through that a little bit?
Yeah, so the guy that I bought it from bought it out of foreclosure in 2021 and had another one in Pigeon Forge, and it was just like, you know, had the money, is the project, let's go do it. And then just never did anything with it. No money went back into maintenance. Really good guy. His other one in Pigeon Forge is like a pretty good deal, like good earner. So that's like his cash cow. And he just wasn't putting any attention towards Tremont. So it actually got under contract by a wholesaler. So I was wholesaled the deal. So that, of course, added to my price. But Tammy's awesome. Do you know Tammy?
Oh, Tammy,
yeah, just she's a hustler. Yeah. Herb, yeah, she's a hustler. So she got under contract. And somebody put it in a Facebook group, because I think there was a buyer's agent that knew Tammy, gave it to a guy. He's like, I don't know what to do with it. They put it in the Facebook group of a mastermind that I'm in. And it was like, does anybody in here do hotels? I think this deal looks pretty good, but I don't know how to underwrite it. And like 3 people tagged me, and then I jumped on it, underwrote it, because we knew that we wanted to do stuff in the Smokies. And this was bigger than stuff that we had done. But I was like, you know what? I'm selling my business. I need to put it into something. Let's look at it. Numbers worked out great. I flew out here. Like the next week, got under contract like a week after, and ended up, a lot of like back and forth negotiations with the seller, and we ended up getting it done.
Okay, I lied. One more question. As you know, Townsend is very seasonal.
It is very. January and February
just
dead.
With your grit and marketing and putting this in front of people that you're going to battle that seasonality. What's your
I think no matter what, January and February are just gonna be dead.
It'll be well enough the rest of the months where it's not big deal.
Hopefully. That's the plan. Yeah, we did get backed up. We were supposed to close our renovation loan in April. We just closed 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
So we lost 3.5 months, 3.5 months almost of what we originally planned. So that's hard to come back from. But I think like our cash flow hole that we've dug is enough that we'll change our renovation schedule, because we're going to have one building down through the end of the year, but now we'll have all 130 units open through the high season of like late September through early October, or through early November. So that 6 weeks of the leaf season will be open, fully open, and we should be able to make like 60-70% of that back. And now we were going to lease our restaurant space out, build it out and lease it. So now we're going to operate it in-house, and that should make up the difference. So we just had to get like a little creative. And yes, through marketing, like we're working with a social media agency now, kind of trying to learn the tricks of the trade of how to get direct to consumers better. We're like 50-55% direct to guests now, but we're trying to increase that. And then the goal is that like, with better listings, with better, amenities. We're adding a pool bar, a big pavilion, a game room, a fitness center, pickleball courts, putt-putt, an outdoor movie theater screen. Like, it's going to be sick once it's all done. So as that stuff gets done, Chop In and Kane and Luke will come back out, do the videography of it. Then we'll do, social media posts and boosting, probably get some influencers out. So that's my thing. If anybody knows social media influencers, we need some to come to Tremont to get this bad boy some attention. Yeah, I think about $1 million went into amenities alone.
And then you're just going to do a section of rooms at a time?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, man. I really
appreciate it. You're welcome.